Hello, welcome to the lesson. So it's time to learn some Jack Johnson, and in this lesson we're going to learn banana pancakes. So it's going to sound like this. Let me demonstrate what I'm going to show you. Okay, that's pretty much the main components of the song. What we've got there is two sections. I'm just going to refer to them as part one and part two, and I'll explain that in a minute. And really what Jack Johnson does is just repeats them round and round a few times. But there's also another section which is a bridge that happens halfway through the song, and I'll explain all that as well. So let's begin. So what you want to do is take your third finger and put it on the sixth string at fret 5, and you're going to give it a pluck and you're going to slide to fret 7 like this. And once you've done that, play the fifth string at fret 5 and then go back to the sixth string at fret 7. So if we join that together, it'll sound like this. And then the sixth string at fret 5, and then the sixth string at fret 3, and then the sixth string open. So let me demonstrate those notes to you. Okay, now I'm going to refer to that as the riff, okay? So if you hear me say the riff later in this lesson, you'll know what I mean. Now what he does is a bar chord, an A minor 7. I'll explain that to you now, but first let me say this song uses a lot of bar chords, and I hope you've had a chance to look at the lesson in the free 12-part course, because in one of those lessons, if you remember, I taught you about bar chords. So I hope you've had a chance to practice that. If not, you know, there's only one way to find out. I'll just show you what to do, and you'll soon find out whether it's easy or difficult. So put your first finger as a bar across all the strings at fret 5. Now, with a bar, you should be able to hold it down with enough strength to pluck all the strings and for them to all sound nice and crystal clear like that. And that takes a lot of strength from your finger to be able to do that. So you might need to work on it. But anyway, bar at fret 5, third finger on the fifth string at fret 7. And what we've got there now is an A minor 7 chord. And I'm going to ask you to do this. Just check the notes first. And the way Jack strums it, he just plucks the root note, which is the sixth string, and then he does a strum, like that, okay? So if we join that onto the riff, it's going to sound like this. Okay, hope that makes sense. Now do the riff again, but this time we're going to do a G7 chord, and what that is a bar at fret 3, put your third finger on the fifth string at fret 5 and use your middle finger on the third string at fret 4. And do the same again, pluck the root note, the sixth string, and then strum. So let's join that together. And then there we go. Now what he does now is something very slightly different with the riff. He does the slide and then the fifth string at fret 5, but this time he goes up to fret 7 on the fifth string, back off to fret 5, and then back to the sixth string at fret 7, and then the sixth string at fret 3. So it's going to sound like this. And then into the A minor 7, and then he does the original riff like it was in the first place, and then G7. Okay, now don't worry if you're not memorising this straight away. I don't expect you to be able to play that perfectly, you know, right away. You'll probably have to stop the video and watch it a few times and get used to it. That's perfectly fine, but just stick with me and I'll lead you through it, and then you can practice it in your own time. So the whole intro should sound like this. And then the different riff. And then the normal riff. Excellent. Next bit goes like this. There's that little stab in there. So what that is a D chord, and that's a bar at fret 5. Now once you've got that bar at fret 5, I want you to lay your third finger and do a mini bar like this, and it's laying across strings 4, 3 and 2. And with the plectrum, really, I'm just strumming strings 5, 4, 3 and 2 really. We're not using the first string, and we're definitely not using the 6th string. Hope that makes sense. Okay, right, so now the verse begins, and it's going to sound like this. I think you know the bit that I mean. Right, so starts on a G7 chord, and we've already practiced that one. So, and what you're going to do is strum the bass note and then strum like this. Okay, good. Now D7. So very similar to a D, what we've got there is a bar at fret 5, just using the 5 strings. We're not going to be using the 6th string. And your third finger goes on the 5th string at fret 7. Your little finger goes on the 2nd string at fret 7, and that's a D7. So if you just want to check the chord chart next to me, that's fine. And so you're going to strum the root note, which of course is the 5th string on this one. I hope that makes sense. Okay, now A minor 7, which we already learned in the intro, and the root note is the 6th string. And then we're going to do C7. And what that is a bar at fret 3, 4th string at fret 5 with the 3rd finger, little finger on the 2nd string at fret 5, and this is just using the 5 string, so you pluck the 5th string as the root note. Okay, so let's join them together. So G7 with the 6th string, D7 with the 5th string, A minor 7 with the 6th string, C7 with the 5th string. Okay, now just to make it absolutely crystal clear, when I'm saying 6th string and 5th string, what I mean is that's the root note of that chord. Some chords use all the strings, starting with the 6th string. Some chords just use 5 strings. I just had to say it just to make sure you understood, okay? Now what we're going to do is go around that 4 times. So let me demonstrate. And then what Jack does, he uses the A minor 7 chord. And then he goes basically back into the intro. We're going to use the riff like this. With the G7 and then A minor 7, same as the intro. And at that point, you guessed it, a couple of stabs on D and then back into that whole verse section again. So really he just repeats those 2 parts backwards and forwards. He just goes from one into the other and back again. Hope that makes sense. And what I'm going to do right now is show you the bridge section, and then it's your job just to practice each one of those sections. And if you look at the PDF document that you downloaded with this lesson, you can click on that, print it out, and that will give you the sequence for the whole song. You know, it'll say play the verse now and then play the chorus now and then play this chord now. And it's all laid out for you, so it's crystal clear how the song goes, okay? So let's show you this bridge section. So once Jack has finished the 2nd chorus, instead of doing the riff and all that, what he does is actually just strums the chords, A minor 7 and G7. Let me demonstrate. And what that was an A minor 7 chord and a G chord. And you'll notice I wasn't actually doing G7. What I did was put my little finger in there and just make it into a G chord. Now, something you're probably thinking is, what is that strumming pattern? How can I make that sound like that? Now, I'm gonna tell you, if you remember in the free 12-part course, in one of those lessons, I showed you how to do a strumming pattern, and it went like this: down, up, chop, up. Let me demonstrate. Down, up, chop, up. So I suggest you take a look at that free lesson, because that's exactly what Jack Johnson does. This is a perfect example. Down, up, chop, up, down, up, chop, up. So just to explain, that's a downstroke, an upstroke, and then this chop. If you remember, what that is you're using the palm of your hand to touch the strings, and the plectrum follows through, and because you're touching the strings are dead, and it just makes a dead sound. And what you want to practice is doing it in one motion, like that. So your palm hits the strings a fraction of a second before your plectrum comes through. And it makes a percussive sound. So the strumming pattern goes like this: down, up, chop, up, down, up, chop. And when you loop it round and round, it sounds like that. So what Jack is doing is he's doing that 4 times on the A minor 7. Down, up, chop, up, down, up, chop, up, down, up, chop, up, down, up, chop, up, and then he changes to the G. Okay, so just pause the video and practice that. Down, up, chop, up, down, up, chop, up. Okay, right. So anyway, we've done A minor 7 and then G, and then A minor 7 and then G. And now what Jack does is A minor 7 and then D. It's going to sound like this. And then back to A minor 7. Now he plays a B minor 7, and what that is a bar at fret 7 with the 5th string at fret 9, like that. And then he plays an E minor 7, which is a bar at fret 7 still. This time the middle finger's on the 2nd string at fret 8, and then these 2 fingers are on the 4th string at fret 9, and the little finger's on the 3rd string at fret 9, like that. And what we've got there is an E minor. And then Jack does that strumming pattern once. He goes down, up, chop, up, and then he moves his 1st finger down a fret, sneaky person that he is, and he ends up with a funny kind of, well, I don't even know what to call it, to be honest. So it's like this. And then he finishes on a C chord, and that's quite straightforward. It's a bar at fret 8, middle finger on the 3rd string at fret 9, and then these 2 fingers on the 5th and 4th string at fret 10. Okay, don't worry, these chords are all written down in the PDF document. You don't have to worry about it, just follow me, okay? And then you're going to go back to the G chord, the D chord, G chord again. And you'll notice what I did there was the stabs on the D, and then it goes back into the verse section again. Wow, that's a lot of chords. I hope that makes sense. Let me just demonstrate that entire bridge section, and then you've got all the components you need then. It's just your job to go and practice that and join it all together. Okay, here goes. And so on and so on. Okay, there you go. That's it. That's all the bits. That's all the chords. Practice it. Watch this video a few times. Good luck. Thanks for joining me. Please email me and let me know how you're getting on with the song. I love to hear from people. Go and print out the PDF document so you've got all the chords by your side, and enjoy playing it. Go and play it to your friends and play it to your family. Bye-bye.